parties that fielded candidates during the general election for different political offices. And the last election last year, we had about 18 political parties. So when I say the opposition, I'm not just talking about the PDP. I'm not just talking about the Labour. I'm talking about the African National Congress. I'm talking about the Zenith Labour Party. I'm talking about the SDP. I'm talking about the Accord Party. I'm talking about so many other political parties that put their foot forward to say, hey, we want to participate in a democratic process. And democracy goes beyond the election. Democracy involves holding office holders to account, making them accountable to the people that they swore to protect while they were being sworn in. Today is Tuesday, the last day of the month of April. The last, but for obvious reasons, he just told me that, you know what, let's just do this via phone. I won't be able to make it to the studio level of feel 1,000 immunity clause. Should it from being persecuted while in office? And so these are the questions, manager, and he joins me every last and first Tuesday of every month on the show. This program comes up every day of the week from Mondays to Fridays from 4 to 5:30. I will play a video specifically on the 30th of April 1994. That was when this particular recording was made. I said to the Hope 93 election last year, and a lot of the things that the late Moshood Kashima Olawale Abiola campaigned with over 30 years ago are still the issues we're dealing with. Issues of the CBN, issues of the in an oil producing country. What are we doing not having petrol city, or the subsidy has been removed? I was watching a part of an interview that was granted by the head of budget, that's Tᴏɪᴛᴛᴇ, and he said that, but you need to take a listen to this short insert. It was from the archives exactly 30 years ago today. Every single day of the week. This thing will take you deep in. That is 1 to 3 p.m. tomorrow. But we're here, and this is the Situation Room live on Milan 98.3 FM. Listen to the sound bite. When I come back, I'll connect with my guest and I will start the show proper.
And they can't get fuel. You have the soldiers that come, they buy petrol, they put it in jerry cans, they sell it right in front of these people. It's ridiculous. They get fuel themselves. Why do they have to come here? They don't join the queue, they don't buy, and they sell right in front of people. It's ridiculous. Something has to happen.
Okay, that was an interview that was granted. I couldn't figure out the name of the lady that granted that interview. I just saw it on the archives and I figured out it will make a lot of sense. I'm sure you observed key things that she mentioned. The fact that, oh, they just jump, they just come, they don't queue, they just jump the queue and they buy fuel and they resell it right in front of the people. 30 years down the line, that soundbite was recorded, that interview was done during one of the fuel protests on the 30th of April 1994. 30 years down the line. Today is the 30th of April 2024, and we're having queues everywhere along the filling stations scattered across the country, especially all of the major cities, Lagos, Abuja, Port, and irrespective of the color. Just pick yourself something handy because you don't know where you're going to see the next fuel. Yesterday I visited 4 fuel stations on my way home. One does not have supply, 2 were selling to jerry cans alone. I had to pay 500 naira service charge, and the one that statement from anybody, the media aides of Mr. President are not speaking to Nigerians, the Minister of Communication is not speaking to Nigerians, the Minister of State for Petroleum is not speaking to Nigerians, the head of NNPC Limited is not speaking to Nigerians. Nigerians are living in the midst of all of these speculations and we don't really know what is going on. Ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome. It's Milan 98.3 FM, and of course it's Situation Room. I almost said me do politics. I'm really looking forward to that conversation tomorrow. Barrister Adams Atta joined me on the show today. We're going to take the conversation in twofold. First, we'll talk about the fact that this APC government seems to be having a good time.
Thank you for having
the unique times that we find ourselves, and I appreciate you for.
You were not around then. I think your colleague put in for you. Yes, thank you, sir.
Yes, That makes a lot of sense. There's so much we're going to be talking about on the show today. Well, let's start from the situation we are right now. The fact that maybe it's safe for me to say that this APC government is the luckiest, but I'm not really saying anything. The trade union congress is also there. Nobody is saying anything. What happens to the pressure group, and that can always ask this of the people are constantly being suppressed by the unfortunate situations that Nigerians find themselves at the moment?
You see, let me start by saying that Adam Tᴏɪᴛᴛᴇʀ that you referred to, who was the then Labour, is it Labour or what?
NLC, Nigerian Labour Congress chairman.
Nigerian Labour Congress chairman. He is now on the path of the politician. So
he's observing table manners.
Yes, without romancing and ignoring with the politician. One. So, because of the fact that he's vast with the procedure and how to frustrate the system, and that's why you see that he is not worthy of trust at all, with due respect to him. Look at the same man that was part and parcel of the people that brought the past administration, the Buhari administration. About a few months to the end of that tenure, he said something when some of them supported the current president. He said something. He said Nigeria should be countenance with Buhari, the same person in the same party with him. So that's to tell you the kind of character he is, and it's so embarrassing and disheartening. Let me not delve into that. And then let me also talk about the issue of opposition. You see that as it is, PDP is silent. They are very, very silent because they have been compromised, because one of them is already benefiting from the proceeds of this current government and is a major sponsor of PDP. So you see it will alter and affect the whole opposition strength of PDP, and that's what is happening to them. You cannot even put your house in order. How well can you go out to make a statement? That is the PDP. And then for Labour Party, you see that this current leadership of APC at the federal level and the state level, to see how they are practicing them in different aspects. They had issues related at the point, issues related to their leadership. Now, there is some issues up and down the Labour Party. So the opposition cannot even concentrate. If they are distracted, that is the antique of APC. They distract you, disorganize you, so that you can be putting your house in order and time will be going. So it's just high time that APC, Labour Party and PDP should realize the fact and come back together and put something and then strike. They should be able to stand them and oppose the current government move. That's for that. And then for MBA, Nigerian Bar Association, apart from the fact that Nigerian Bar Association is the highest body that tends to oversee the association of lawyers in Nigeria, let me also say that issues that border on the welfareism of Nigeria, MBA by all standards, they should make a statement. Look at the issue relating to the first subsidy. Look at issues relating to the removal of what they call
electricity subsidy
tariff. Look at WG after how many weeks they are now holding the conference today. When the tension was high, that's when you are supposed to ask. The Nigerian Bar Association, the Keta branch, now holding the press conference, and that is the most rugged and rugged branch all over the country. And last week, make a statement. If there is a protest, a peaceful protest to allow for, the message will go to the federal government. The message will go to other states. It will empower other branches to say, oh no, if this can come out from Lagos, we are saying no to that. So for me, it's so disheartening that NBA is lacking behind in ensuring that the authorities of Nigeria are well taken care of. Yes, because if you are talking about issues that relate to increment of electricity tariff, we have to be a procedure that the law has put in place. We don't just come on board and then skyrocket or increase the price tag of tariff without putting the condition precedent. These are what ethics educate people. So in all aspects, these people have highlighted they have failed. They have failed in simplicity. That's the best way I can describe it. I don't know whether they are ready to speak that tomorrow or subsequently, but as it is, in the last 1 year, in the inception of this current government that is inflicting hardship on Nigerians, MBA have failed, Nigerian Bar Association, and then the opposition party have failed, and all other aspects, they have failed. Come out boldly to make a statement. Look at what is happening in the state as at today. I'm told that the government does increase the minimum wage to 70,000 thereabouts. Just because the election is around the corner. You know, politicians, they know how to toy with the emotions of Nigeria. Because they do that for their personal benefit. Election is around the corner, so every need for him to influence the vote to his favor by increasing the minimum wage. So we are watching. So that's my take on that.
Okay, Barrister Adams, thank you for opening the floor that way. Now, one of the things, or one of the quotes that a lot of people had ascribed to the current president was the fact that he said he's been preparing to be Nigerian president for over 30 years. Now, so I want to ask, you cannot say you used more than 30 years of your life to prepare for a position and you got into office, and for the past 11 months it's been paper over cracks. It's been trial and error. It is put this in, if it doesn't work, take it out, put this back in. How difficult is it to offer quality governance? I don't really want to talk about dividends of democracy. I think it's a line that has been abused. Let's talk about a decent way of life. Let's talk about the government really being intentional with taking care of our people. How difficult it is for the president to fix the major or the basic of the challenges that we have in this country. And this is what I mean, Barrister Adams Atta. Mr. Owodeyemi, the chief political editor of Guardian newspaper, says something that if Nigerian government can fix electricity and security in this country, that will fix about 60% of our problems. So I'm going to ask you again, how difficult is it to administer proper governance on Nigerians?
You have used the word how difficult. It therefore presupposes that you want me to tell you what are the factors that are frustrating the system. A lot of factors.
Perhaps, with the look of things now, it looks like it's difficult. So I want to ask, let's admit it is difficult, but how difficult it is?
Yes, let me start by laying this foundation. You say that Mr. President say that he has spent 30 years to prepare himself to be the president of our dear nation. Let me quickly correct that ugly notion. I don't think I agree with that statement. How? Because he has never occupied any ministerial appointment before since 1999 till date. Do you agree with me? Do you agree with me to that extent? Has Mr. President, had he ever been a minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria?
He's never been a minister, but he's been a governor.
A governor is different from a minister. A minister is there at the federal level to represent the president. Are you getting my point? And when you are a governor, you are a governor of a state. You are overseeing an affair of one single state. Whereas when you are a minister, look at Umahi. He's the one overseeing the road construction, the coastal road construction in Lagos State there to Calabar thereabouts. Because he's a minister, he can handle any project all over the federation. That is the preparation we are talking about. Mr. We do expect he left power as far back as after 1999 for about 8 years.
He left power in 2007.
He has never occupied any political appointment. Has he ever, apart from was he the minister at the point, no, a senator at the point, I think it was at the National Assembly, if I get it right. I don't know, but he has never been the minister of the Federal Republic. So I do not agree with him when he says he's preparing himself. You don't just stay back and think you are preparing yourself. Are you part of the system? You must belong to the system to understand what is obtainable in the system. When you are in Rome, you have to behave like a Roman. So you must be in the system to know how the system operates. And that's one of the major cankerworms, or one of the major enigma that bedevils the past immediate administration. How? The man is not experienced. He is just a military personnel. Then, now for him to now come up, I lost the ship. We saw a lot of errors with Buhari and everything. Is it the fact that he cannot stand and address the nation boldly, confidently, at a spot? I give that to the current president. I love the fact that he can always come out to address the nation, even though some of those addresses may be wrong, may be right. He's human, but I love that fact. The space of communication is very key. That is the first foundation I want to lay. Then furthermore, you have said how difficult it is to govern this our dear nation, and whether or not the lacuna that we experience in Nigeria. I agree with the maker of that statement that electricity is some part and parcel of the 60% issues we have in Nigeria. Because once there's power, you can work from any place. Any place. You can work. Industries will come on board. You can see a lot of foreigners have left because of the fact that our power supply is bad in this part of the world. Very the worst. And whereas the supply power supply to some other parts of Africa. Is it Ghana or somewhere there about some of the neighborhood
neighboring countries?
Yes. And then we cannot have both of having light for 20 hours in a day. So I don't agree with the fact that government is just there as a matter of this. The government should ensure that basic amenities in line with the provisions of the Constitution, more particularly Section 14 of the 1999 Constitution that says the welfare of Nigeria shall be the primary responsibility of the government. It's not an empty statement. It's not mere cosmetic. It is a section of the law that borders on the corporate social that borders on the social contract theory. So that's how it is.
Barrister Adams, before we leave this conversation, I told you the discourse today will be in twofold. We want to talk about the opposition and how much we need the pressure group. Hopefully on Thursday, I should be able to have the chairman of the CLOs and the CSOs in Nigeria join me on the show and to look at their roles in all of this. But let me now ask you again. For every democracy to thrive, there had to be discerning voices. Again, there had to be alternative, there's options for people to choose. If party A is not functioning, so when people don't feel comfortable with party A, they jump to party B. But in this case, we have 18 political parties that participated in the last election. When anybody but Jonathan, and then they jumped ship and voted for Buhari that have been contesting 3 times prior to that particular election. Now, and I want to ask you straightforward, do you think the opposition is putting itself in place to provide alternative to Nigerians ahead of the next election? I mean, we can say that, oh, election is still far. Don't get it twisted. This administration will spend a year by next month. By the time we get to 2026, it's going to be all politics. Governance will probably be relegated to the background. It's going to be politics everywhere. Do you think the opposition is alive enough in this country? And I'm not just talking of PDP or Labour Party alone. We have NNPP, we have AAC, we have different political parties. Do you think they are speaking out enough for Nigerians to have reasons to probably correct whatever wrongs they've made or maintain the status quo?
You see that even the 2 major parties we have in Nigeria, or 3 now, say, Labour Party, PDP, and APC, you see that most of them they are just in the game of political prestige. They are just leaving one party to another party. Is it Obi you want to talk about that left Afghan to PDP, from PDP to now Labour Party? 3 parties within how many years? Out of 10 years. Is it Alhaji Atiku Abubakar we want to talk about that left PDP at the third to
joined ACN,
and then he left there to OTC, and then he left APC back to PDP as if it's his father's property. Is it? Let me say for Mr. President that I don't think he has ever joined any 2 or 3 parties to say it was the matter that brought him on board. Is it the former immediate president you want to talk about that left one particular party to the other? AMPP as it was. So I think it was the matter there about. But that notwithstanding, the point I'm making is that these people, they are in the business of leaving one party to the other. That is established. That is the pure case of political prostitution, which is not hygienic for the system. because it's the same criminal that left A that came to B. So what is the difference? Because it's now inbuilt, it's now innate, it's part and parcel of the person, the criminal antecedent, part and parcel of the person. So he cannot say that for the fact that because I learned one of the producers say, "Is that Shomoli?" I won't say that last week about that. Once you join anything, all your sins are forgiven. Are you aware of that statement?
Yes.
Once you join APC, all your sins are forgiven. And you will even agree with me as of last year that most of the prosecution that the federal government was doing is a matter of forum shopping. Forum shopping in law and things whereby you select people you want to prosecute just because of the fact that they are not part and parcel of the party. Because the system is bad, they tend to protect themselves. So for me, I think that for the opposition to take over power come 2027, they need to come together. Look at what happened in this recent election. Look at if you put the vote for Labour Party and then PDP together.
That's almost 14 million.
Yes, and if you look at the antecedent of the vote that PDP always records every election, presidential election, is article in his last listing. I think he made up to about 11 million thereabouts. I'm not supporting it, but we are giving statistics now. So if these people continue to in this way by not harnessing themselves or putting heads together to ensure that they come together and form a very strong opposition, APC will continue to capitalize on their lacunas. That's my best. It's not by how number, whether you have 20, 30 or any opposition or how you make noise.
Barrister Adams, now let me quickly chip this in. When we talk about the opposition, it's not even just about the political parties alone now. We have pressure groups. We have the NLC. We have the Trade Union Congress.
Pressure groups cannot be an opposition per se. They are associations set up.
Yes, I know. I'm just saying those things that strengthens the democracy.
So they are not there to checkmate. They are also there to support the government. That's why they are not seen as opposition, because immediately the government recognizes that you are working for the opposition, and that's one of the threats that Mr. President issued out last 2 months or thereabouts. He said they should stop making themselves a labor union should stop making themselves as an opposition party to the government. Because if you make yourself an opposition party, government is not going to support you the way, because they don't have trust in you, because they will just feel that you are working with the opposition. Once you are working with my enemy, somebody will oppose my policy.
You automatically become my enemy.
Yes, so I don't see them as a opposition per se. I see them as an independent body that are set up to ensure that the prosperity of Nigerians are well taken care of.
But why have they failed? Why have they failed in doing that? All of the Occupy Naija in 2012 or thereabouts, we've seen a lot of protests that are held.
You know that this government is still juvenile. It's not up to a year. And Nigerians are already boiling. It's just a matter of time. The government gave us, because we have to keep it, because this government, for me, is taking some steps that the immediate government failed to take at the federal level. For example, it was under the leadership of Buhari that we heard about snake eating money, that the minister will commit an offense, he will not be suspended. But we are seeing some drastic steps that is being taken by this government. A minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria was recently suspended. And then the student loan that we some of us to criticize, the government recalled that student loan. Recalling it is something, listening to people is something. And then the spirit of coming out to address Nigerians is something. And then as of last week, the dollar dropped at the top. Our naira was the best performing
currency.
If you look at it all over the news. So in as much as we have the bad side, we also need to look at the good side. We cannot continue to criticize everything away. I'm a strong critic of this government, but we also need to highlight those few things we have seen. We agree that the subsidy has been removed. It's just that it's so unfortunate and so disheartening. A lot of Nigerians don't understand what removal of subsidy entails. They were shouting, I want removal of subsidy, this and that. Now it's not being removed. People are facing it in the hard way, how it's done in abroad. We pay for whatever service that you enjoy. That's what we're facing now. Government no longer paying for power supply and everything. So we cannot continue to blame the government at the federal level. We need to come back to the grassroots, both at the state level, both at the local government level. Why? Before now, before the removal of fuel subsidy, if assuming the federal government is releasing 30 billion to a state for the allocation for that particular month, since the removal of fuel subsidy, the money has skyrocketed to maybe double of that money, because such money is no longer going for the payment of fuel subsidy again. It's now being channeled to the state. So we should go back to our state. People should go back to the state and protest and say, yeah, for this and that. We increase minimum wage for us. We know that the federal government is now paying you this and that. That is how it is. Very simple. More money is now in the state. People should go back to the state. Because you go to the federal government, any little thing you complain to the federal government. Is it the federal government that regulates your that regulates your salary structure? You go back to the state and protest. But it's so bad that people can protest against the federal government every small thing, but they cannot protest in the state. Look at what the past governor of Kogi did to that state. And nobody came out publicly to use the social media to say to protest. If they try, he will frustrate them. If they try, but if it's at the federal level, they will be so quick to come out. So that's the point. People should go back to the right quarter. Go and complain to your state. There is no amount of protest at the federal level that will alter the fact that if you are fighting for your state government, assuming you continue to protest like that, the federal government will increase the allowances or the budget that is going to your state. The money will go back to the state government, and then you will nuke everything. So we must get it right. We must get it from the grassroots. We must hold our senators down to the councilmen. We must hold them responsible. We must know what they are doing. The local government chairman will must know. The state house of assembly representatives will must know what they are doing. Commissioners, ministers, that is how we ensure that we get it right in this office.
Thank you very much. Barrister Adams Atta is a legal practitioner, is a public affairs analyst, a social commentator, and he's a guy that loves to have fun, by the way. So he joins me every last and first Tuesday of every month. We'll always look at some of these issues, and in case you're just tuning in, this is Mainland 98.3 FM. This program is the Situation Room. I will get to do this every Mondays to Fridays from 4 to 5:30 p.m. We'll bring guests, analysts, stakeholders, politicians across different conversations that involves leadership, governance, good governance, and accountability. So today we're looking at two things on the show. The first is why do we have a very quiet opposition set up in this country? Prior to the 2015 election, the then ACN was always everywhere. The Occupy Nigeria protest in 2012 under the administration of former President Goodluck Jonathan literally brought this country to its soul, because the people felt, no, you cannot remove subsidy. The same administration, the same set of people that are in government right now were the ones saying you cannot remove subsidy. In fact, the current president was very clear with his position. You have to remove subsidy instrumentally. You take it out in phases. But when the president got sworn in on the 29th of May 2023, the first announcement he made was subsidy is gone. And between then and now, the country is yet to recover 1,000 naira, 1,200 naira. That's exactly what the price per liter for petrol is going at the moment. And you know what I mean. Everything would skyrocket. The cost of public transportation, the cost of items in the market, everything will become almost unaffordable for the people. Well, Barrister Adams Atta, let's switch gear a bit. Let's talk about the very controversial immunity clause. Now, about 2 weeks ago, when this conversation of the immediate past governor of Kogi State, Yaya Bello's issue started, one of the things I told a very senior colleague of mine was, should we have immunity for public office holders? And this is what I mean. These people got up, decided within themselves, their families, their political associates, and went to their political party to indicate that we want to be president, we want to be governor, So it wasn't something that was offered. It wasn't something that, even though some of them would say, oh, my people begged me to contest. We understand how these things work. So the question is this: Barrister Adams Atta, you're a legal practitioner, and I want us to look at this from 2 points. One of the arguments that the person I spoke with talked about was, if there's constant persecution, it will create unnecessary distraction for the president and the vice president, or the governor and the deputy governor. These are the individuals that enjoys this clause. I remember the administration of the president of the 8th Assembly, Senate. That's the former governor of Kwara State, distinguished Senator Bukola Saraki. He was docked by the Code of Conduct Bureau because of the allegations that he didn't declare his worth and all of that. But if you look at the last, maybe since 1999 till now, his tenure as Senate president looks a bit better than some of the Senate president we've had, despite the fact that he was constantly appearing in court and all of the politics that was being played. Do you think the immunity clause is a needless clause that has to go right now?
Well, for me, hello?
I'm with you.
For me, the purpose of the immunity clause as enshrined in section 308 of the 1999 Constitution is to ensure that where the president or the vice president and the governor or the vice or the deputy governor of the state, whilst they are in power, the law states that at that period no civil or criminal suit
can be instituted against them.
So the purpose and the genesis behind it is to ensure that these people concentrate, because from the moment you start going to court to answer court matter or proceeding, you see that people will take advantage of that. You will see series of lawsuits against you. But that will not for any reason, because if you look at by our federal character and the democracy that we practice in this part of the world, otherwise as federalism, you agree with me that we have the attorney general of the federation, and each of the states, they have their attorney, they have their own state. So assuming you have any case, you see that the governor is taking your land arbitrarily, or the governor make a pronouncement that your land is now for public purpose or something thereabout, and you agree with that governor or the state government or the federal government, you can sue the federal government in the federal government or state government capacity, or you can sue the AG, the Attorney General of the Federation, or the AG of the state, which is the chief legal officer of the state. So you can sue them, not to stop you from that for a civil matter. But if you are talking about a criminal matter, it's individual, that's why if it's a civil matter, if somebody dies, the suit can still continue against his estate or his net of kin or children thereabouts. But in a criminal matter, the reverse is the case, because it's a personal liability. Once you die with it. And that's why you also see in criminal matter, even though it takes 20 years to commit an offense today, it takes the law 20 years to arrest you. They can still prosecute you. But it's not like that in civil matter, where they're on my land. I can, after 12 years, the land now belongs to me thereabouts. So, but that aside, the point I'm making is that if the law is that instead of you to go and file a criminal matter against the state, against the governor, the law states that for that period that the first governor is on board, you cannot, because to avoid any side distraction and unnecessary suit and claim against them, the law wants them to concentrate and no distraction from all standards. This is part and parcel of the law we got from UK and some other parts of the world, thereabouts, some other parts of the world. But the point I'm making is that this part of the world, that law, or that law has been abused.
Now, you see, sorry to cut you. That's exactly where I'm going to. The essence of governance itself is for public accountability. So if someone spends 8 years in office and then you've probably maybe the anti-graft agency that are monitoring have seen that, oh, in your first year in office, some level of accountability is being demanded from you. Oh, these are the amounts that your state has gotten, and we cannot match it with the development. So we'll have to wait for the next 7 years when the governor leaves office, and then he goes into hiding like Yahya Bello is doing at the moment. That's why I'm asking, should the deputy governors in this case be more empowered, so when there are petitions against governors and they are facing these issues, the deputy can stand in?
No, in this petition against Bello himself is a personal petition against himself. It's not against the deputy governor. Yes, because I just told you something. Those allegations, those heavy allegations are against him. It's just like how you have allegations against a person now, and then you now say Buhari to go there and defend him. It's not done. That's why I just told you that these are criminal liabilities.
No, you didn't. Sorry, Barrister Adams. What I'm saying is that in cases where the governor travels, there would always be maybe acting governor, that's the deputy governor. That's what I mean. So I'm not saying the deputy governor should face the persecution. I'm saying that if it is too much of a distraction, maybe the governor is having appearance in court and is having issues, shouldn't the deputy governor stand in so that there won't be that vacuum, and then we don't, under the guise of immunity, encourage corruption?
If you look at the provisions of the constitution, there are conditions to which the deputy governor can
act,
and then the governor. So if you say that somebody can go after the governor, he can also go after the deputy governor. Series of suits against the, and then you'll be incurring liability. And you remember that all the actions that he's going to be prosecuted against are basically proceeds of his dealing in pursuit of his office. Whereas he was, when he was the governor, he made 1 or 2 transactions. So, and then people don't say, oh, we don't like him, he's not of our party. You will see series, because people who abuse it. You know how opposition in this part of the world work. We see about 5,000 or 2,000 lawsuits. You know how many lawsuits against Buhari alone for violation of human rights under international dispute? If he is to go and defend those matters, I don't think he will give our president. So, like I said, and I will continue to say it, and I'm saying it today, for you to rule this country, you need to be very tough and rugged. You don't need to behave as if you must be strong. So for that, you must step on people's toes. You must. Yes, all because people don't really feel entitled. What you feel that is wrong or right may be otherwise for another person. Whereas the law is clear as to what it should be, what it is, and what it should be. People will continue to manipulate it. So, but I'm not in support wholeheartedly of that section 308. But in as much as the paragraph that the immunity court, in as much as I don't support it, we also need to trade with caution, particularly the paragraph, this part of the world we are not mature yet. If you leave it, people will abuse it. The politicians are already abusing it. But I love the paragraph just to give power. People can still go after you to prosecute you. But I don't know how many governors have been convicted. I don't think they have convicted any governor, any former governor.
Yes.
4 to 5 months.
I mean,
the return of democracy. Then we use the money to fight back. So I said what we should be praying for now is that the law should grant a special offense. Anybody, my recommendation is that a special court should be created for politicians to prosecute them. And then they'll hire expertise, the professional, like special judges who are not intimidated or something. So that these politicians will not continue to have their way. If you are in a public office and then you abuse that office, there should be a special law exclusively reserved for that and a special court. That's my point.
Now, I really appreciate the angle you've brought into this conversation. You look at the Senate, for instance. We have a lot of former governors that have corruption cases still hanging on their neck, in the Senate. We have a lot of former governors that are not even in the Senate, but are just somewhere. Just last week, there was a report that the failure of the persecuting or the judge or so to appear in court stalled the former Ekiti State Governor Ayodele Fayoshe's case. He's still having a case. The former governor of Abia State, the former chief whip of the Nigerian Senate, Senator WG %SoᴘsAᴘᴘ was convicted, and at the end of the day, a court upturned the conviction on the basis of technicalities and jurisdiction. That is there. So many other people like that have corruption cases against them, but are still holding political offices. So now let's flip this conversation and talk about what you just recommended. How much do you think that would help us? Imagine having a case where somebody was former governor and he still did 8 years in the Senate, and his case is almost as gone as dead. A lot of people also assume that in the next couple of weeks, this whole issue around the immediate past governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello, would also die down. How much do you think this special court that you recommended would help us to making sure that politicians now know that if you steal money while in office, there's a time frame to which you will be investigated, and if found guilty, you will be sentenced? How important do you think we need to raise this conversation about this special court?
Yes, another thing is if you are looking at that court, it should not be a state court per se, because you can see how Yahaya Bello is going to the High Court in Kogi State to abuse the judiciary with obtaining court order up and down, because that is the state. The current governor is still installed, so he feels that he can get whatever he wants to get. So you see how a court in FCT will be sitting over a matter, and then another court is indirectly giving an ex parte order to frustrate the purpose. And the Supreme Court has held in plethora of cases, Supreme Court cases, that no court on earth should be made to be used as a machinery to frustrate a properly constituted authority from exercising their constitutional duties. EFCC is established by an act of the National Assembly, federal agency. They are investigating matter, and one court is sitting in one place in Kogi State, making an order, an ex parte order, restraining them or try to frustrate them from exercise. The Supreme Court have held that such order are just mere empty order, because you cannot restrict somebody from exercising a constitutional right or duty per se, more particularly that this borders on criminal allegations. Nobody is above the law. Somebody is being summoned to come before the court, and then you are saying somewhere this and that and so on. Let me narrow it down to your question in specific time. You said how best to sit for the court, the special court are recommended. Yes, you can make it work, but it's with determination. It must not be politicized. People must not allow politics, tribalism, just like what is happening today now. As I'm speaking to you, some people went to EFCC office yesterday
to protest
against EFCC, while some other people went to protest in support of
EFCC.
So you see underneath it, there are tribal connotations to that. But I know that Kogi is about 4 tribes. While some tribes are there to support, even though some other from the other part are there, I don't want to get into that. But you see how people abuse the system, politics, tribalism. Some people that went there to protest in favor of Yahaya Bello, they are proceed, there are people who have benefited from him, and then his tribal what is it called? People. So the point I'm making is that this special court that will be exclusively reserved, not only narrow down to corrupt politicians alone, it can also be extended to election matters. Special court should be it should be exclusively set up for election matters. With that, I think we can get it right. Not that you allow them to be driving the system and having their ways of obtaining court order. Yahaya Bello is doing this because of the fact that about 2 governors, former governors, IİrsᴛSōജlᴜ or something, they went to get an ex parte order. And up to date, they are there. Up to date, yet they cannot arrest them. And there is the same point Yahaya Bello is facing. You see, so if you can leave these people, why can't you leave me? So that's where we are.
Okay. Thank you very much, Barrister Adams Atta. I mean, we've gone really deep into this conversation, but you know how we always do it. By 5 o'clock, we'll take the headline news, and then we'll also pay some bills, and then when we come back, I'll read loads of messages that are already on our social media spaces, and we'll also pick calls. You're live on Mainland FM. Barrister Adams, hope you don't mind if I let you go now, and then I reconnect with you on the turn of 5 o'clock so that I can respond to some of the questions that may demand your answers.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll reconnect back with you. Okay, you're live on Mainland FM. It's the Situation Room, and I just had a conversation with Barrister Adams Atta. We looked at two major issues on the show today. The first is the issue of the opposition. How quiet or how difficult is it to be an opposition party in this country? I've always felt like the beauty of every democracy anywhere in the world is for the people to have alternatives. It is for the people to have if party A is not meeting my expectations, I should seek party W, I should seek party Q, I should seek party XYZ, so that it doesn't become a one-party system. You've not heard anything from the PDP in respect to all of this, as against what we had pre-rather 2015, where on daily basis you get to see Alhaji Lai Mohammed releasing statement, reading, Pastor Tunde Bakare leading protests, the former governor of Kaduna State, Malam Nasir El-Rufai, on the streets, the Occupy Naija issue and all of that. But look at what we have right now. The members of the opposition party are even having their own internal issues to deal with. They are struggling. And then the interest groups, the pressure groups, the NLC and the TUC are quiet. Nobody's saying anything. There's information gap between the governed and the government. Nobody knows why we're buying for 1,000 naira. We're just hearing speculations. Oh, there are maintenance in some foreign refineries. Oh, they want to reduce cost of petrol, so they're trying to sell off the old stock. It's just been issues left and right. And if the president says he's not asking for Nigeria's sympathy, that because he begged for this job and he's actually prepared for this job. Let's see how well he's going to take this job. I would pick a couple of calls, but by 5 o'clock we need to take the headline news. We'll also pay some bills, and I'll bring back Barrister Adams Atta in case there are questions he will need to respond to. 091-3600-0410. Hello, good evening.
Very good to you, Opeyemi.
Prince Wise.
Thank you, Matthew. You see, the opposition you are talking about, I think,
Prince Wise, I'm really struggling to hear you. I would appreciate if you can call back. Let me read a couple of messages on Facebook before we go to the other side and pay some bills. Akimbo Sunday says immunity clause is one of the exceptional cases of the rule of law. It's high time the immunity clause in our constitution be expunged. And the public office holders in the country should remember that they are in the office to serve the masses and not their pockets or their cronies. Nigeria would be great again. Yes, I know it will be. The country will be great again. Obiara Ezechukwu says we're wasting time. We're wasting our time about elections because there are no elections anywhere. The man just imposed himself on Nigerians. Okay. Still on Facebook. Where are the Occupy Naija 2012? Where is the NLC? Where is the TUC? Where are the civil society organizations we have in Nigeria? Where are the human rights activists? Where are the human rights